Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to VENKANNA English Guru. Friends, we are actually talking about and we are on the last stage of romantic period, I think so. So as a part of this, we are going to talk about three important writers. And so far we have discussed uh, some biographical reading of Wordsworth, S.T. Coleridge, Jane and John Keats, and P.B. Shelley. Four authors where we had some basic kind of discussion with regard to them. And in this video, you are going to have basic idea about Jane Austen, Charles Lamb, and Lord Byron. These three important writers. So by this, I feel like the discussion, the process of giving you some background knowledge about romantic period will be over. Okay, so today's discussion is all about Jane Austen. And see, Jane Austen, one of the popular important novelists of the time, and 1775 and 1817, and she's never married, and she's known for a number of social novels, realistic novels, and what you can say, and women novels. And according to most of the critics of 20th century, she is regarded the one of the most important critics of English literature and feminist writer. 16 December 1775 and 18 July 1817, romantic novelist and essayist, popular for her social realistic novels because and she through her novels are considered to be social novels because she exposed realistic depictions of the society of the time and what was the mental attitude, the attitude of the people and the gender in the society, and realistic because she described the conditions of women, the conditions of the family or family background, and as they were. And that's what. Next, popular feminist in the Romantic period, and known for her six major important novels. One and interpret, critique, and comment upon the British landed gentry at the end of 18th century. What was the condition of the people of the time, and that is actually described and through her novels. Next, Austen's plots often explore the dependence of women. Very, very important. So today, everybody wants independence, but nobody is interested to have dependence. So dependence of women. That's what. Why? Because I can find a lot of women watching this video. Because and what is required to you? Because you want social independence, social freedom, economic freedom, and cultural freedom. Hence, you've been watching this. So she was the one of the major important writers and who exposed the dependence of women on male-centeredness. And her novels are examples for patriarchal feminism, where how families were controlled by men and how women were exploited, how women they depended on men in a family. That's what, and on marriage in the pursuit of and seven social standing and economic security. Okay, because still it's a belief, and I could find a lot of people and my some of my teachers, some of my lecturers and professors, and who are never married after reading all this literature. So you could find a lot. So and it's a belief in the society, and where parents ask their daughters to get married early, and they don't ask their sons, and that though they have to and go for all that. Her works critique the novels of sensibility, because sensibility, which is very important, the concept of sensible, what is good, what is bad, what is needed to be questioned at the time. So we had a long discussion with regard to age of sensibility, the process of sensibility where you give priority to reason and heart. So you're not going to give only on one particular idea. Here, the concept of sensibility, maybe you are going to give importance and importance to not only to your reasoning power, thinking power, but also to your emotions. That is what she is actually a symbol of. Uh, and she had through her novels where she talks about how women depend on marriages. Still, it's a notion. And if you are a woman and you are required to get married, and then what about the situation of man? Okay, that's what she starts questioning. So a woman without marriage is nothing. The idea in the society, she questions that. Next, social standing and economic security. And today you can see a lot of jobs that are usually done by a female but not done by men. So, which is what is actually going on. So, our work critic the novels of sensibility of the second half of 18th century, and she gave inspiration. She gave a lot of inspiration to writers like Emily Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, Anne Bronte, George Eliot, and they took a lot of inspiration by composing a lot of novels during in the next period, that is Victorian period. So she created a mark, and even Virginia Woolf throughout her novels, throughout her critical essays, she mentions the greatness and her attitude and her explorations through literature in different novels like Pride and Prejudice. What are the popular novels composed by Jane Austen? You should use this code SPMB NPL. Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, the popular Gothic novel, and Northanger Abbey. All these three are posthumous novels. They were published after the death of Jane Austen. Northanger Abbey, Persuasion, Lady Susan, but she was not able to complete the last one, and the two they were completed and published. Remember, the first published novel, but first written novel was Sense and Sensibility, which is called and First Impressions, and the popular novel. And you might have read about Pride and Prejudice, and there are plenty of movies on that. I feel like while watching, like our video, share our video who are not into our class. Okay, do that. Next, what kind of style? Because already I told you, she talks about the dependence of women, social standing, the role of women in a society, and the role of women for their economical disturbances, and the social conditions, and the realistic situations of the society. And a part of transition from 19th century literary realism. Realism. So the period from 1845 to 1900, this is called realism. But she became a forerunner, a beginner for exposing the concepts of reality, realism, and through her literature. So realism, which means describing things as they are. So where she was able to, she expressed her aspects through that. Her use of biting irony. This is very important. She made a lot of ironical comments on the society, irony on the patriarchal society, patriarchal feminism. So where feminism, feminism, first wave feminism, second wave feminism, patriarchal feminism, gynocratism, womanism, okay, and like there are plenty of feminism. So her literature, her novels may comment on and may comment on patriarchal feminism, where families were controlled by men. Irony, along with her realism and the social commentary. That's what I've been talking about. Her novels are just like comments on the society, comments on the attitude of the people. Okay, attitude of the people, attitude of the parents, because see, attitude of the parents, and if they have a girl child and they uh, what do they say, and they go on and creating a lot of problems for them to get married a little early stage. So that's what she doesn't like, and hence her literature is just like a commentary. It's a social commentary, and have long earned her acclaim among the critics, scholars, and popular audience like. Her novels were published anonymously. This is very important. Most of the literature that was written by women was not recognized till the end of 19th century, and during the early 19th century, during the early 20th century, and during the Victorian period mainly, and they composed their literature under male pseudonyms, male pen names. For example, and George Eliot, Mary Ann Evans, her original name, but she changed her name into George Eliot and published her literature. And Charlotte Bronte, Karen Bell, Emily Bronte, Alice Bell, Anne Bronte, Alice Bell. So they changed their pen names. They changed their original names and composed a lot of novels under male pseudonyms. And that is why their literature is known to the world. That is why even Jane Austen composed her literature anonymously, because if it is written by a lady, which was not accepted in those days. Okay, that was the plight of women, and they were not permitted to enter a library, and they were not permitted to read, and they were encouraged by their parents and their siblings, and like so. And her novels were published anonymously and brought her moderate success and little fame during her lifetime, because her father, who encouraged her, also left behind 3 volumes of juvenile writings in manuscript. The short epistolary novel Lady Susan. Epistolary, as I told you, Lady Susan. So it's an epistolary novel that is composed in the form of letters. Another unfinished novel, The Watsons, but she was not able to finish. A significant transition in her posthumous reputation occurred in 1833 after her death, after 16 years of her death, when her novels were republished in Richard Bentley's standard novel series, illustrated by Ferdinand Pickering. They gradually gained wider acclaim and popular readership. In 1869, 52 years after her death, her nephews and publication, a memoir of Jane Austen, introduced a compelling version of her writing career, supposedly an eventful life, to an eager audience. So after 50 years of her death, and people come to know, okay, and the importance of Jane Austen and her life, her novels, and her themes. That was the plight of the time. Next, adaptations. Her novels. This is also very important. When your novel is adapt and when novel is produced in the form of movie, it is called adaptation. Okay, so this is also very important technical word. Couple of times it featured in different examination. When a novel is produced in the form of a movie, it is called adaptation. So her novels and have inspired many films from 90 Pride and Prejudice. You might have watched a movie, popular movie in Indian cinema, directed by and performed by Aishwarya Rai. Sense and Sensibility, Emma, Mansfield Park, Pride and Prejudice, Love and Friendship, Emma. And this is something about Jane Austen and some little bit background with regard to Jane Austen. Next, Charles Lamb. The moment you think about Charles Lamb is so popular for his pen name Elia and SS of Elia or Tales from Shakespeare. Very, very important all these are. And his sister and Mary Lamb. And these are very commonly used terms. Okay, Charles Lamb, 1775 to 34, and was born on 27 July 1775 at Inner Temple as the youngest child of John Lamb and Elizabeth Lamb, and she was killed by his own sister Mary Lamb. He is known. This is very important, my friend. The Prince among English essayists, father of English essay, Francis Bacon, and Prince of English essayist Charles Lamb. And all his essays are considered to be autobiographical, personal. Okay, remember, Charles Lamb and his sister Mary both suffered mental illness and brief periods. Hence, they were never married. Okay, and because of her mental illness, and he did not marry in his life. Mary killed her mother in a sudden frenzy. This is what? Who killed in a sudden frenzy, and somebody killed, and his her own mother. And who is that? Mary Lamb, and the sister of Charles Lamb. Charles was to undertake a responsibility and family for lifetime. Hence, he is also never married. He never married for his family commitments and has been called the Prince of English Essayists. Very, very important, my friends. And father of English essay and Francis Bacon. And Francis Bacon took inspiration from and Montagu, a French writer. Okay, remember that also. Next, and what are his popular works? Tales from Shakespeare, 1807, for the young learners. Even I have the book, but I could not show you that, and due to some other constraints. Published in 1807 in collaboration with his sister and Mary Lamb. This is very important. Tales from Shakespeare, this includes 2 tragedies and comedies, no histories. And Charles Lamb handled the tragedies, Mary comedies. This is very important. So, Tales from Shakespeare, which includes the short abridged versions of the stories of tragedies, which were abridged by Charles Lamb, and comedies by Mary Lamb. On Shakespeare's tragedies, 1811, best critical essay on the genius of Hogarth and Farewell to Tobacco. These are some of the essays, personal essays, my friends. He wrote prologue to Coleridge's unfinished tragedy Remorse. And as we discussed, these were same schoolmates. Remorse, where he composed a prologue, a preface. The works of Charles Lamb, published in 1818 in 2 volumes dedicated to Coleridge. This is very important. The works of Charles Lamb were addressed and dedicated to Coleridge due to their own friendship. Essays of Elia, another important work published under Elia. Elia is actually the pseudonym or pen name, published from 1823 to 1833. Remember. So Essays of Elia, which I think I have mentioned this date from 1823 to 1833. Next, one of the most what kind of style? So only one important style, and this style is all about personal, autobiographical, very very important. So one of the most autobiographical of English essayists. That's what I've been talking about. All his essays are autobiographical, personal. He goes on talking about his relationship, talking about his own personal emotions, personal ideas in the form of essays. His essays at every step reflect his good nature and his charity, his simplicity, his innocence, and boundless kindness. Think of someone who is never married because of in the process of protecting his own sister. So, and he communicates with his readers about his friends, about his relatives, about his joys, sorrows, likes, and dislikes. So he goes on talking. So he uses first person narrative. So first person technique of narrative in the process of his essays. That is why his essays are autobiographical in nature, where he talks about his own personal information, about his friends, relatives, his joys, his sorrows, likes, and dislikes. And from a study of the essays of Elia to reconstruct the whole of his life from beginning to end. Dream Children, this is also an essay. My Relations, Christ Hospital, etc. are all replete with 100 self-revelations, self-expressions of the writer's ideas, writer's emotions, all. Next, humorous exaggerations can easily be quoted from his essay. And his essay and Poor Relations, Christ Hospital, The Convalescent, and others, is extensive and overabundant use of allusions, comparisons, and quotations. Was a widely read man not only in the Elizabethans but also the Bible and the classics. Widely read all the Elizabethan writers, and he also read the Bible and the classic hence, and he was able to write about his own personal emotions based on these. His style is full of quotations from the Bible and allusions of biblical events and stories, where he went on using some of the phrases, paraphrases from Bible and classics. And in Christ Hospital alone, there are numerous allusions, the old and new school master, and iteration and repletion. Next, you can also say Lamb is an artist with words, not easily satisfied. He re-revises with a great care and his effort. Something about Charles Lamb. Okay, my friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and share our videos to your friends and classmates. Like our video while watching. Okay, next, another important writer, Lord Byron. Several times there are bits, Don Juan and a child's halal pilgrimage, or you can say the popular works Byronic hero. So there are plenty of bits on a vision of judgment, the vision of judgment, the controversy between Lord Byron and Robert Southey, and the friendship between P.B. Shelley and Lord Byron. So all that, and based and the stanza form, the octave rhyme, which is used by Lord Byron in his poem, the magnum opus poem Don Juan. So these are some of the mainly examination oriented points you see. 1788 and 1824. George Gordon Byron was born on 22nd January and died on 19th April 1824, commonly known as simply as Lord Byron. So Lord Byron, the original name George Gordon Byron. So he was a British poet, peer, politician, and leading figure in the Romantic period, and died at the age of 36. 36, I think so, 12 plus, yes, 36. And he traveled extensively across Europe, especially Italy. We've been talking about this, and most of the Romantic writers, most of the English writers, they traveled a lot to Italy, Rome. Lived for 7 years with struggling poet P.B. Shelley. Okay. Next, he died in 1824 at the while in Missouri at the age of 36 from a fever contracted fighting on the side of the Greeks in their war for independence from Turkey. So he worked as a soldier and worked on the part of independence for Greeks, and he worked as a soldier on the part of Greeks and the war between Greece and Turkey, and where he worked as a soldier during the war, and he was infested with a fever, and he was not able to come out of that fever and died in 1824. So he died of fever. So major works, once we think about DCM, Don Juan, okay, English Birds and Scottish Reviewer, Charles Herald Pilgrimage, Manfred. So Don Juan, English Birds and Scottish Reviewers, and Charles Herald Pilgrimage and Manfred, the popular works. And one of the major important qualities of Lord Byron is satires, ironical kind of expressions, ironical poems, satirical poems that he actually composed. Don Juan, it's an adventure poem as well as it's an adventure poem and ongoing series of love stories. Next, English Birds and Scottish Reviewers, ballads, Child's Aller Pilgrimage, and this is autobiography. And how many cantos? Cantos 1 and 2. Manfred, the short lyric poem, She Walks in Beauty. It's a small poem, but major Don Juan, English Birds and Scottish Reviewer, Child's Aller Pilgrimage, autobiography, Manfred. Okay. Next, Child's Herald Pilgrimage is autobiography, long poem. The term child is medieval. What does it mean by child? Sorry. So, and the word child is a medieval word for a young nobleman waiting to become a knight. So everybody wants to be. So even we wait for the time. So the time will take us to a position where we want to be. So this is also, and Lord Byron also thought of becoming a wonderful person, but he died at the age of 36. So this is the child, which means a medieval word where a nobleman waiting to become a knight. Even everybody wants to be in a very good position. So he also wanted to be the knight. A knight was at the work which was made Byron's name. The hero, Childe Harold, is often identified with Byron. That is why this is autobiographical poem that is composed by Lord Byron. Next, friends, and Manfred and his dramatic poem. Manfred is particularly passionate outcast. So a downtrodden, passionate outcast, a rebel, and whose typical romantic heroism contrasts with the restraint, humility of the typical Augustan classical hero. This is in part due to the octava rhyme. So this Manfred is actually composed in octava rhyme. What is octava rhyme? I told you, a stanza that is composed in 8 lines, introduced by Sir Thomas Watt, and A B A B A B C C. So that is the rhyme scheme. So composed in octava rhyme. Next, style. Like Shelley, Byron was heavily involved with contemporary social issues. So once we look at DECM, Don Juan, or English Birds and Scottish Reviewers, or Child's Herald Pilgrimage, or Manfred, and he uses irony to talk about the social issues, and became a particularly well known for his word satirical poem, and where he wrote a lot of literature to expose the faults and fables of the people, faults and fables of the traditional institutions, and as he was the close friend and relative of P.B. Shelley, you can understand the kind of mental attitude that he actually gained from P.B. Shelley. Satires, social issues, Byronic hero. So he created a character called Byronic hero. So Byronic hero, what are the qualities of Byronic hero? Couple of times it featured several times in the history of net. Literary fashion, the hero is usually melancholy and solitary figure. Melancholy, so sad and solitary figure, and leads his life lonely. Most of the philosophers, they lead their life lonely. Okay, and they always think about the society, problems of the society, how to correct all those problems, and who in his actions often defy social conventions. So he went on and rejecting and opposing the social conventions. The poet as a reclusive and pop star. So lone pop star. And Byron joined the Greek War of Independence, fighting the Ottoman Empire, for which Greeks and revere him as a national hero, because he died on the part of Greeks or Greeks. Hence, they regarded him a national hero. Robert Southey attacked Byron. This is very important, my friends. Robert Southey attacked Byron and in the and prefaced to A Vision of Judgment. Remember, A Vision of Judgment. It's a poem written by Robert Southey where he attacked Byron. So first, Robert Southey was a poet laureate, wrote a poem, A Vision of Judgment, attacked Byron. Hence, Byron, he was a popular satirist, popular and poet of ironies. Hence, he wrote a parody. And as a result, Byron wrote a parody. This is very important. Parody. Parody refers to a satirical poem, severe kind of satire. And parody called The Vision of Judgment. The difference between the title is only the article. A vision, the vision. So the Lord Byron, A Robert Southey. Robert Southey is senior, Lord Byron is junior. So this is a year later in this is 1821 and 1822. And something about Don Juan, very popular, important poem, my friends. Byron's magnum opus, the popular epic which is composed by Lord Byron is all about and Don Juan. So what is this all about? So magnum opus work, Don Juan. This is composed in 17 cantos. How many cantos are there? 17. Ranks as one of the most important long poems published in John Milton's Paddle Lost. So very lengthy kind of work. Next, often called the epic of the time. Okay, before 1840, because in 1850 the popular epic of Wordsworth, the Prelude, was composed and involves itself with its own contemporary world. So he wrote this poem. It's a satire. It's a satire on the contemporary social cultural incidents, and it's a comment on social issues, political issues, literary issues, ideological kind of issues. It's a biting satire. It's a satire. It's irony. It's a critical work. Next, and in Canto 3, Don Juan, Byron expresses his detestation for poets and such as William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. In letters to Francis Hodgson, Byron referred to Wordsworth as Wordsworth. Very, very important. Who called Wordsworth Wordsworth? You are not Wordsworth, you are Wordsworth. Who called Lord Byron because he did not like the political or social issues which were accepted by Wordsworth as a poet laureate. Hence, and he went on making comments on in. Byron himself insisted that Don Juan is a satire. Yes, remember, Don Juan, it's a satire on the abuses of the present state of society, institutions, and values of Western society. So it's a comment on the society. It's a comment on social traditional institutions of the time. Don Juan. Don Juan begins with, this is very important, my friends. You require marks. Don Juan begins with, I need a hero. The following poem begins with, I need a hero, Don Juan. Several times it featured, I need a hero, beginning line of this poem. Byron himself is considered the epitomize many of the characteristics of the literary figure. So Don Juan is nothing but Byron himself. The literary history of the Byronic hero from John Milton influenced Bronte sisters. Lord Byron also influenced Bronte sisters, 3, Anna Bronte, Emily Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, were influenced by this Don Juan. And continental Europe than in England, Friedrich Nietzsche, the popular politician and theorist of the time during 1780s and 1800, admired him and his philosophy, and the Byronic hero was echoed in and Nietzsche's Superman's. And Superman, it's a term that is coined by Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay, in the same way, Lord Byron coined the word Byronic hero. Remember. The Byronic hero attributes, what are the qualities of this Byronic hero? Great talent. So Byronic hero includes a lot of talent, great passion. Great talent, great passion, rebellion, rebel against the society, against culture, against traditional institutions, exile, leads his life solitarily. An unsavory secret past, arrogant because of his knowledge, because of his other qualities, arrogant, adamant, disdain for society and social institutions, hence goes on making a number of comments on the society. And lack of respect for rank, privilege being, and fond in love, social constraints, overconfidence, lack of foresight, ultimately self-destructive manner, hence he dies his own, and he digs his own well. So that are the major qualities of Byronic hero. You will get a bit based on this. So these are the major important aspects I wanted to talk about. And by this, I can say the discussion with regard to romantic period is over, and we'll start because I thought of giving you basic introduction about romantic period, where we had nearly 10 class, I think so, uh, only based on romanticism, and we'll be starting and Victorian age and from tomorrow. Okay, guys, like our video, share our video to your friends and classmates, and stay tuned and see you tomorrow, right? Chesterton called Charles Lamb as yes, remember this word. Wonderful, wonderful for your active participation. Wonderful.